What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, there's been a lot of speculation for a long time about the quarterback situation within this organization. How long is Stafford going to be here? Is he going to be here next year? Is he going to be here the year after that? Is he going to play out his contract? Is he going to get traded? Who's the successor? Who's the next quarterback in Detroit? Those are questions that a lot of Lions fans have asked. Those are questions that I have answered numerous times on streams and in numerous different videos. I've talked about the Stafford and I've talked about the quarterback situation a lot on my channel. And today, as I mentioned in last week's Lions Talk, I was going to release a quarterback video. I was going to release a quarterback breakdown, a prospect from the draft that a lot of people seem to be liking, and BYU quarterback Zach Wilson. Now in this video, I'm going to break him down as a prospect, break him down as a potential player for the Detroit Lions to take a look at his ceiling, look at his floor, go over the takeaways I saw while watching film on him, go over his statistics, his measurables, and end up coming to a decision on whether or not he is worth the number 7 overall pick. Now before we get into breaking down Zach Wilson as a prospect and as a player, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of your day to do so. It helps the channel out more than you could know. I'd be super appreciative for it. And again, it takes just 2 seconds out of your day. It's completely free. It would help the channel out a ton. So if you could take those 2 seconds to like and subscribe, I'd be super appreciative for it. But with all that being said, and without any further ado, let's get into breaking down BYU quarterback in potential draftee Zach Wilson. Now, as I said, Zach Wilson has been a very popular name around the city of Detroit when it comes to looking for the next quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Now, Zach Wilson is a quarterback from BYU, and he has a lot of very impressive statistics to go along with his incredible play, not only last season, but in his freshman and sophomore campaigns as well. Now, in his career at BYU, Zach Wilson passed for 7,652 passing yards, having a 67.6% completion percentage, threw for 56 touchdowns, only 15 interceptions, while having a quarterback rating of 162.9. Now, not only is Zach Wilson a threat in the passing attack, obviously with those numbers, he's also a big weapon and a big threat in the rushing attack as well, as Zach Wilson in his 3 years at BYU totaled for 642 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. Now, he is a very capable quarterback, both through the ground and in the air, as we just went through. Obviously a lot of passing yards, a lot of passing touchdowns, a very efficient quarterback. And to me, he wasn't even used entirely. And obviously, as if you know Zach Wilson, you'll know he was not healthy his entire career at BYU. So those numbers could be even better, both in the ground attack and through the air. Zach Wilson is a phenomenal talent. His numbers will back that up, and the tape and the takeaways ahead from the tape will back it up as well. Now, not only did Zach Wilson have a phenomenal career at BYU, in this past season alone, in just the 2020 college football season, Zach Wilson finished third in passing yards in the entirety of college football. He also finished third in touchdowns thrown and finished 8th in the Heisman race. He finished 8th in Heisman voting this season, behind a lot of guys. Obviously, Devontae Smith won the Heisman, but Zach Wilson was top 10 in Heisman voting, finishing third in passing yards and third in passing touchdowns amongst all college football quarterbacks this season. Now, getting onto the tape and getting onto the takeaways. Now, when watching Zach Wilson, I was extremely impressed. And I want to say that right off the bat, I was extremely impressed with how good he was versus, obviously, maybe not the best competition that college football had to offer, but when he was faced with a matchup, he took full advantage of it, and he looked like a phenomenal young quarterback that could go into the NFL now and find a decent amount of success if he were there tomorrow. Now, I did watch a lot of the Coastal Carolina game. I watched the entirety of that game. I watched his bowl game versus USC, and I watched his game against Boise State. So those are the 3 games that I am referring to when I talk about his tape and the games that I watched, just in case you were curious. But going to the first takeaway, the first thing I noticed immediately from the first play of the Coastal Carolina game and very early in every single game is that Zach Wilson does a very good job manipulating the pocket and avoiding pressure. I mean, on the very first play of BYU BYU's game against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina sent a corner blitz. Zach Wilson stepped up. He let his blocker get back in the play. He stepped up, took the cornerback out of the play, took the blitzer out of the play, then threw a very good pass across the field that went for a 91-yard touchdown. Now, it did get called back because of holding, but that first play versus Coastal Carolina, he showed he was able to manipulate the pocket. He showed that he's able to avoid pressure very well. He has a very good sense of pressure and a very good sense of how to avoid said pressure. And that's not the only thing that I noticed about him. That's not the only play that he showed that. Over and over and over again, Zach Wilson did a very good job avoiding pressure. And when he did feel that pressure, he was very, very poised in the pocket. He was very poised. He was very dangerous when he's under pressure. He doesn't panic. He doesn't make dumb throws. He doesn't make dumb decisions. He's very good at avoiding the pressure. He's very good at avoiding blitzing linebackers. He's very good at avoiding the defensive linemen. And it's not something that he's perfect at, obviously. He's been sacked a bunch. He's been, hit a couple of different times. It's not perfect. And Zach Wilson does make some poor decisions at times. And he does make some bad plays at times. But for the most part, looking at Zach Wilson, looking at the way he plays the game, and looking just early in football games, the first thing that jumped out to me was his ability to avoid pressure in the pocket. And the second thing that stuck out to me very, very early is that when that pressure arrives, it does not affect him. When you do pressure Zach Wilson, when you do bring that extra linebacker, when you do get pressure on him, he has the ability to get out and make plays with his legs on script and off script. He's not fazed by pressure a lot. And when you do get pressure on Zach Wilson, he will genuinely just be able to get out of the pocket, use his legs, and get a first down. And a lot of Zach Wilson's production with his legs doesn't show up on the stat sheet. A lot of his stuff that he does with his legs is either extending plays to make a good throw, extending plays to get out of the pocket to maybe run with the quarterback. But obviously, if it's a 2-yard pickup, but he used his legs to get out of pressure, that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but it's still an impressive play with his legs. And that's one thing that I noticed about him early, is that he uses his legs a lot. He runs around, he moves around a lot as the quarterback, and not all of his movement shows up on the stat sheet, but his legs are very vital to his playing style. His legs are very vital for him avoiding pressure, for him getting out of pressure, for the designed runs, for the off-script runs. He's very good at using his legs to avoid pressure. He's very good at using his legs to get out of situations and get out of problems. He is a very dynamic quarterback, both through the ground and in the air. 642 rushing yards isn't a lot, but again, not everything he does shows up on the stat sheet, and not all of his positives show up on the stat sheet either. And the one thing that I noticed, he's very good at extending plays. He's very good at getting out of the pocket, and more often than not, that leads to a lot of success for BYU's offense that season. Now, the next thing I realized, and this kind of goes with the whole pressure thing, he's very poised. He does not get flustered by pressure. Even if you get pressure, even if you're right up in his face, and even if you're touching Zach Wilson, even if the defensive lineman has a hand on him, he does not pressure. He does not panic. He stays very calm. He makes relatively good decisions for the most part as a young quarterback, and that is very impressive as a young quarterback, because if you can go in as a young guy in the NFL or a young guy in college and you cannot make mistakes, not force mistakes when you're pressured, you're going to be very successful at any level. And Zach Wilson is a very poised quarterback. He's a very calm quarterback. He's very confident in his ability to get out of the pocket, to extend plays, to find receivers downfield. That is what he excels at. Some of the off-script stuff, some of the stuff where he gets pressure, so he's going to roll out. He's going to make a guy miss in the open space. He's going to pick up a first down. He's going to pick up a good amount of yardage with his legs. That's what he does, and a lot of his success comes from his confidence. A lot of his success comes from his poise, and for such a young player, for such a young quarterback with not a ton of game experience throughout his time at BYU, that was very impressive for me to see. Now, the first negative I have on Zach Wilson is he didn't read the field incredibly well when I watched him, and that's not all on him, because I did see several times that he definitely can read the field. He can definitely do it, and I saw a couple times versus Coastal Carolina where he did get to his second read, he did get to his third read and make the right play and make the right throw. But one of the biggest things I noticed about him watching early is that he was not asked to read the field a lot. He was given his first read, and it was generally, you hold the ball until that wide receiver is open and you throw him the ball. And he has the talent to get that ball to the wide receiver. He has the ability to get the football to his wide receiver, but he was not asked to read the field a lot. A lot of the time, he was going to his first option. A lot of the time, he was not reading the field, getting to his second, third, and fourth read on the play, and occasionally that would hurt him. A lot of the time, BYU's receivers would get open anyway. A lot of the times, BYU, it was on script. Everything was on script. It was an easy pitch and catch for Zach Wilson to his wide receivers, so it didn't hurt him at BYU as often as it will in the NFL. And again, it's not that he can't read the field. It's not that he can't get to his second, his third, or his fourth fourth read. But I've heard a lot of things about Jamie Newman and Justin Fields and some of the other quarterbacks in this draft not being able to read the field exceptionally well, or not having shown that they can read the field exceptionally well. Zach Wilson is in that same boat as them. He was asked to make one read on the field. He was asked to look down his quarterback. Either if it's there, you throw him the football, you let him make a play, and if it's not, extend your play, extend it as long as you can, and scramble around and try to find somebody open. He was not reading the field incredibly cleanly during the Coastal Carolina game. Even during the USF game, he wasn't incredibly clear and wasn't incredibly precise and direct with his reading ability and his ability to read the field. It's a negative against him, but I don't think it's a make or break thing. There's a lot of quarterbacks coming out of college football, and there's a lot of quarterbacks every year. They're not asked to do that, and they're not asked to do that at the college level. The big school guys, the Clemsons, the Ohio States, even the BYUs this year, their quarterbacks weren't asked to be super reliable when it comes to reading the field. Their quarterbacks weren't asked to get to the second, the third, the fourth, or even the fifth read on the play because they're so good they can afford getting away with that first read. That's what Zach Wilson had to deal with. Zach Wilson got away with only reading the first player. He got away without being able to really get to his second, his third, or his fourth read. And while he was able to get away with that at BYU, he's not going to be able to do that in the NFL. Sometimes he stares down receivers. Sometimes he doesn't make the greatest decision, and sometimes he sticks with his first read way too long. That's not something that concerns me entirely, and that's not something that makes me think we can't draft him and we can't clean that up and we can't fix that as the Detroit Lions. And that's something that his NFL coach is going to have to work with him with. It's a very fixable issue. It's a very not easy thing to learn, but it's a very, NFL coaches are very capable at teaching young quarterbacks to do that. So I have no doubt that he's going to learn to be better at that at the next level. But that is something that I notice is as of right now, as a prospect, he does tend to stare down his guys sometimes, and he does tend to not read the field as well as he could be on given plays. Now, getting back to the positives, now, Zach Wilson has incredible arm strength. Again, a lot of quarterbacks have good arm strength coming out of college. This guy has a cannon. And I mean, this dude can make off-platform throws. He can make off-platform throws, on-platform throws. I mean, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half of the Coastal Carolina game, yeah, it was intercepted. I don't hold that at all in any way, shape, or form. I do not hold that against Zach Wilson. That was a Hail Mary interception that just so happened to get picked off and just so happened to get caught by one of the 6 Coastal Carolina defenders in the end zone. But he threw it from behind his own 40-yard line, and it got to the goal line. I mean, he has a very good arm. He has an incredible arm. He can get the ball pretty much anywhere on the field. So making throws in the NFL, making tough NFL throws on the boundaries, deep balls, ripping the football in a tight window, he can absolutely do that. And his arm strength and his arm talent showed me that immediately. Every throw he was asked to make, there were several where he was on the far hash and he would have to throw it to the boundary, and it was right on time and right on point. Obviously, that Hail Mary at the end of the Coastal Carolina first half, that was an incredible bomb by Zach Wilson that traveled a very long ways through the air. Again, got picked off, but the result of that play doesn't matter to me as much as it is showing off how far he can actually throw the football. It's pretty impressive, and if we're going to replace a guy like Matt Stafford, who is known for having a cannon and is known for making some impossible throws, Zach Wilson can replace him and make just as many impossible throws. He has probably not as much arm strength as Stafford did coming out. I wouldn't say he's as talented. I wouldn't say he has as much arm talent as Matt Stafford coming out of Georgia, but he is very close. He has an incredible arm. He has great arm strength. He can make just about any throw you need him to make. So from that standpoint, from the physical standpoint, he is everything you're looking for a quarterback, and I'll go over that, and I'll go over that again in just a minute when I'm done with my takeaways. But I do have 2 more negatives against Zach Wilson coming out of BYU. The first of which is on occasion, and this isn't every time, but on occasion, Zach Wilson tends to sail his passes. They tend to come out a little high. Sometimes that leads to incompletions. Occasionally that does lead to turnovers. It's not a problem that I think it can't be fixed, but sometimes, even if there's no pressure in his face, even if nothing is going wrong within the play, the ball will just come out high for some reason. And I don't know if it's a mechanics issue. I don't know if it's just something Zach Wilson's dealt with his whole career. I don't know exactly what causes the ball to come out high at sometimes, but I have noticed that, Zach Wilson's not flawless. He doesn't read the field exceptionally well like we went over, and sometimes his ball does come out high. His throw does come out a little high, which causes it to sail over the receiver's heads. Generally, it doesn't lead to an interception. Obviously, see only 3 interceptions on the season. Generally, it does not cost Zach Wilson at the college level, but if he does end up sailing, if his football does end up sailing, if his throws do end up sailing in the NFL, he will throw a lot more interceptions than he ever did in college. And again, it's not something that can't be ironed out, but it's something that for whichever team drafts him, they will need to figure it out, and they will need to help him with some of the mechanics. They will need to help him get over some of the humps. His new NFL coach, his head coach, his offensive coordinator, and his quarterbacks coach at the next level will need to help him iron that out. But for the most part, if you're sailing your passes at once out of every 10, maybe that's where the range is. Every once in a while. It's not consistent. It's not a consistent flaw I've seen him, but at about 1 in every 10 passes, he's going to overthrow it. He's going to sail the pass, and occasionally that does lead to problems. That leads to them getting behind the chains. That leads to them being off schedule, and occasionally that can lead to a turnover. And in the NFL, it will cause him a lot more problems than it did at BYU. Now, the last thing I have about Zach Wilson, the last takeaway I have, this isn't from the tape. This is just from what I know. Zach Wilson has an injury problem. He has some injury concerns coming out. He only completed 1 of his 3 seasons at BYU. The other 2 he got hurt. I believe 1 was a shoulder injury and 1 was a knee injury, if I'm not mistaken. So Zach Wilson does have a little bit of an injury problem, and as Lions fans know, we continue to struggle with injury year after year after year. So that does scare me a little bit. However, in this past season, he showed his ability to play in the entire game. He played all 12 games for BYU without missing a single snap due to injury. So I know he can't play in the entire season, and I'm not saying that's a big thing that we need to worry about, but when evaluating a quarterback, especially when you're evaluating a guy that could be your franchise player and could be the guy that's on top and the face of your franchise for at least a decade, if not longer, injury concerns is a big thing. And with people talking, oh, Stafford's injury prone all the time, Zach Wilson's not much better. Zach Wilson has only completed 1 of his 3 seasons at the college level, and at the NFL, he's not going to get as good of protection. They're going to hit harder. They're going to be bigger. They're going to be stronger, the defenders are. So that scares me a little bit, but again, it's not enough to me where I can say we're going to write him off as a quarterback. We're going to mark him off our draft. We're going to mark him off our draft profile. We can never pick this guy under any circumstance. It's not that kind of a flaw, but those are the 3 things that I did notice Zach Wilson tends to struggle with a little bit. And again, as a prospect, you're never going to be perfect, right? Trevor Lawrence, not perfect. Penny Sewell, pretty darn close. He's not perfect. You look at Jamar Chase, far from perfect. There is no prospect. There's no NFL player that is the perfect player. So everybody's going to have flaws. But from what I've seen from Zach Wilson in the games that I watched, his pros and his potential far outweigh the small errors here and there that he tends to have, and the small negatives and the minute negatives that you could look at as a draft scout and as a potential drafting team. Zach Wilson, there's a reason he's a top quarterback prospect, and it is very well deserved. He has the measurables, standing at 6'3", 210 pounds. He has the talent. Undoubtedly, he has the talent. Couple flaws here and there that need to be ironed out, but if he sits for a year or 2, those things are going to be fine. They're going to be fixed, and he's going to come into the NFL very, very prepared. And with the few flaws that he does have, he is going to have time to iron those things out. He's going to have time to smooth those rougher edges. He's going to have time to fix some of the mistakes that he occasionally makes on the football field. And with a year or 2 to sit, he can be a phenomenal quarterback in the NFL. And this is the comparison that I saw a lot. It's to Patrick Mahomes. And I agree with this. I think Zach Wilson's ceiling is the next Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm not going to say that lightly. I don't give out these comparisons super lightly. I'm not just going to call somebody the next Patrick Mahomes without really believing it. Zach Wilson's ceilings and his highs, his best plays are Patrick Mahomes-esque. Zach Wilson at his best and Zach Wilson at his ceiling is the next Patrick Mahomes. He is the next Patrick Mahomes of the NFL. He is the next face of the NFL. He is the next MVP frontrunner if his ceiling and if his potential is realized and brought out of him. But with that being said, again, there are some rough edges to work out. There are those injury concerns. There are those things that you got to take advantage of, there are those things that you have to take note of when drafting Zach Wilson that you're going to have to clean up as a head coach. You're going to have to clean up as a coordinator. You're going to have to clean up as an organization to make this guy into the Patrick Mahomes clone that he can be. And with the question looming, is he worth the number 7 overall pick? Yes, he is. If you as a player have the potential to be the next Patrick Mahomes, you are worth a top 7 pick. You are worth the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I don't think he'll go number 1, but if he falls to 7, the Lions Lions should absolutely take him, especially if Parsons is gone, especially if some of the other bigger name prospects are gone. If Zach Wilson is on the board, he is at the very top of your board, and under very few circumstances do you not take Zach Wilson at the number 7th overall pick if he is available. Now, with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. That is my breakdown of the quarterback prospect, Zach Wilson. Let me know what you guys think of Zach Wilson down in the comments below. Would you take him at 7? Would you trade up to get Zach Wilson potentially? If he were in Detroit, do you think he's the right quarterback to bring in to take this team into the future? I'd be super curious to know what you guys think about this. With all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Thank you all so very much for watching the video, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye, guys.